The story you know about the Montgomery bus boycott is incomplete. It begins with a wrong woman, on the wrong date, and it erases the 15-year-old girl who started everything. 9 months before Rosa Parks made history, another woman refused to move. She was arrested, dragged off a bus, and then deliberately forgotten. Her name was Claudette Colvin. This is history that hits, and today we're examining a choice that shaped how we remember the civil rights movement, and whose courage we were taught to celebrate. What would make civil rights leaders look at a brave young girl who risked everything and decide she wasn't the right kind of hero? The answer reveals something uncomfortable about how movements work. Because Claudette Colvin wasn't just overlooked by history, she was strategically sidelined by the very people fighting for freedom. And understanding why matters more today than ever. So let's go back to March 2nd, 1955. The afternoon that changed everything and then was buried for half a century. Montgomery, Alabama, 1955. Segregation wasn't just law. It was the architecture of daily life. Where you sat, where you walked, where you drank water. Everything was divided. The city buses were theaters of humiliation. Black passengers paid at the front, then had to exit and re-enter through the back door. Sometimes drivers would pull away before they could reboard. If the white section filled up, black passengers had to give up their seats and stand. Refusal meant arrest. Drivers carried guns. The rules were enforced with violence and impunity. Black Montgomeryans had organized before. Arrests, complaints, petitions, all had failed. Leaders knew they needed a test case, someone whose arrest could challenge segregation in federal court. They were looking for the perfect plaintiff, someone dignified, someone respectable, someone whose character couldn't be attacked. And then a 15-year-old girl acted before anyone was ready. On March 2nd, 1955, Claudette Colvin boarded a Capitol Heights bus after school. She was a sophomore at Booker T. Washington High School, carrying her books home like any other day. Claudette took a seat in the back section, the area designated for black passengers. The bus began filling up, and then came the demand that would change her life forever. A white woman boarded. There were no empty seats in the white section. The driver ordered Claudette and 3 other black passengers to move. 3 of them stood up. Claudette did not. She later described the moment. History had me glued to the seat. I felt the hand of Harriet Tubman pushing down on one shoulder and Sojourner Truth pushing down on the other. The driver called the police. When they arrived, Claudette was dragged off the bus, her school books scattered in the aisle. Officers kicked her and called her slurs. She was 15 years old. She was taken to the city jail, charged with violating segregation laws, assault, and disorderly conduct. She sat in a cell, alone and terrified, waiting for someone to come. Her pastor and her mother came for her. Claudette's father worked as a yard man, her mother as a maid. They were working-class people in a city that would soon see their daughter as a liability. Word of Claudette's arrest spread quickly through Montgomery's black community. For a moment, it seemed like this could be the catalyst they'd been waiting for. Civil rights leaders visited her. They interviewed her. E.D. Nixon, the head of the local NAACP, saw potential in her case. And then they stepped back. The problem, as movement leaders saw it, was Claudette herself. She was dark-skinned in a society that valued light-skinned black Americans. She was poor and working class, without influential connections. And then came the news that sealed her fate. Claudette was pregnant, unmarried, and 15. In 1955 Alabama, this made her, in the eyes of some, morally compromised. One historian noted, she was unmarried and pregnant during the proceedings. Leaders feared she could become a divisive figure for the community. The respectability test had failed. Leaders weren't being cruel. They were being strategic. They knew how viciously the press and white establishment would attack whoever became the face of their movement. They had seen how segregationists destroyed reputations. Every flaw would be magnified. Every mistake weaponized. They believed they needed someone unimpeachable. So Claudette's case was quietly set aside. She wasn't abandoned entirely. She would later become a plaintiff in a crucial lawsuit. But as the face of the movement, that opportunity passed to someone else. 9 months later, on December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. She was arrested, and this time, the movement was ready. Rosa Parks was not a random tired seamstress. She was a seasoned NAACP organizer with years of activist experience, a secretary of the local chapter, trained in nonviolent resistance. Parks was 42 years old, married, employed, light-skinned, and connected to every major figure in Montgomery's civil rights network. She was, in every way, the opposite of Claudette. The Montgomery bus boycott was launched. For 81 days, Black Montgomeryans walked, carpooled, and sacrificed. The movement had its moment and its carefully chosen face. But Claudette wasn't entirely forgotten, at least not by lawyers. On February 1, 1956, a lawsuit was filed that would change everything: Browder versus Gayle. 4 women served as plaintiffs in that federal case challenging bus segregation. Claudette Colvin was one of them. Her testimony about that March afternoon proved essential to the case. On June 13, 1956, federal judges ruled that Montgomery's bus segregation was unconstitutional. The Supreme Court upheld the decision. Segregated buses were finished. The boycott ended. Rosa Parks became an icon. Her name entered every textbook. Her image became synonymous with courage. And Claudette? She slipped into obscurity. For decades, she lived in relative anonymity. She moved to New York, worked as a nurse's aide, raised her son. The girl who sparked a revolution became a footnote that most people never read. It wasn't until 2009 that Claudette's story began reaching a wider audience. A young adult book titled Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice, brought her courage back into public consciousness. Suddenly people were asking, why hadn't they learned about her in school? Why had Rosa Parks been chosen instead? The questions themselves revealed uncomfortable truths. Respectability politics had shaped history. The very same logic that excluded Claudette in 1955 had kept her out of textbooks for 50 years. Dark-skinned, poor, pregnant, young, imperfect. This wasn't just about one girl. It revealed how movements have always made choices about which stories to tell and which faces to show. The politics of representation are never neutral. Question the great person narratives we inherit. Behind every icon, there are often overlooked individuals whose contributions were equally vital but didn't fit the preferred story. Even Rosa Parks herself understood this. In her later years, Parks met Claudette and acknowledged what the younger woman had done. There was no rivalry, just complicated history. Some historians argue it's unfair to pit Parks against Colvin. Both women were essential. Both showed courage. The problem isn't who was chosen, it's that one story erased the other. When you study any movement, look for the people who've been left out. Their exclusion usually reveals something important about power, politics, and whose voices get amplified. In 2021, 66 years after her arrest, an Alabama judge finally expunged Claudette Colvin's juvenile record. She was in her 80s. The crimes she was cleared of, refusing to give up her seat. Colvin said of the expungement, "I wanted to clear my name. I wasn't a juvenile delinquent. I was a teenager who wanted to be treated fairly." On January 13, 2026, Claudette Colvin died at age 86. She passed away just weeks before the 71st anniversary of the day she changed history from a bus seat in Montgomery. Her death prompted a wave of remembrance articles, tributes, social media posts. For many, it was the first time they'd heard her name. Better late, perhaps, than not at all. Think about who gets to be the face of any cause today. Which activists get platforms? Which get ignored? The same calculations that sideline Claudette still operate, just with different criteria. Seek out primary sources when studying history. Official narratives are always curated. The fuller picture lives in letters, interviews, court records. The places where the overlooked left their marks. If this story was new to you, share it. If you found it interesting, consider subscribing. We cover forgotten moments like this every week because these gaps in our knowledge matter. Claudette's story raises a question that applies far beyond 1955. Should movements choose their heroes strategically? Or does that calculation always come at a moral cost? There's no easy answer. Rosa Parks was the right choice to sustain a year-long boycott against vicious opposition. But Claudette paid a price for being too young, too dark, too poor, too pregnant. Acknowledge complexity when you encounter it. History is messy. People who fight for justice can still make exclusionary choices. Holding both truths is essential. Look at movements today and ask, who is being positioned as the acceptable face of change? Who is being pushed to the margins because they don't fit the preferred narrative? The civil rights movement won extraordinary victories. Segregated buses, segregated schools, Jim Crow laws all fell to organized resistance, and Claudette Colvin played a part in that victory. Her testimony in Browder versus Gayle helped end bus segregation in Montgomery. Without Claudette, there would have been no federal case, and the boycott alone could not have changed the law. Claudette Colvin was 15 years old when she decided that history demanded more of her than silence. She couldn't have known that her courage would be strategically set aside. She couldn't have known that another woman's name would fill the textbooks while hers gathered dust. But she acted anyway because the moment demanded action, regardless of whether history would remember. That's the lesson Claudette Colvin leaves us. Courage isn't about who gets credit, it's about what needs to be done. The 15-year-old girl on that bus understood that better than anyone. Thanks for listening to History That Hits. I'm your host, and this has been the story of Claudette Colvin, the first one, the forgotten one, and finally, the remembered one.